Hey guys, what's up? I'm Nyla. Sorry I'm not talking right now. I should be pretty swollen. But anyways, this video is about our presentation today, which is on human rights versus women's rights. And we're not going to be summarizing the articles for you today. Instead, we're going to talk about the critical issues that were raised in each of the articles and our own personal views of those articles and those issues. So this video is us going around the campus at UTSC asking the students what they think about women's rights versus human rights and various questions pertaining to that. So I hope you enjoy.
Hey, Evan. Hi, Christina. How are you? Good, how are you?
I have a question for you. What's the difference between human rights and women's rights?
I don't know. There's a difference.
Yeah, didn't you know?
No, it's rights, isn't it?
Okay, alright, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, what's the difference between women's rights and human rights?
Women's rights and human rights? There's no difference. We should have the same rights.
So what's the difference between women's rights and human rights?
There is no difference. I think women have the same rights as men have the same rights as women, and therefore human rights and women's rights are equivalent to each other. It's the same thing.
I don't know. Is there a difference? Aren't women and humans the same?
So your question's pretty funny because this morning I woke up and as usual I turned the TV on to CP24, figure out about the weather, and they were talking about this team, all-female hockey team. And this hockey team was complaining that they weren't having enough ice time, mainly due to the fact that there was an all-female team, and all the time that they did want to go on the ice was being given out to older men and their hockey teams. They were given priority over these women. So I did automatically think about the difference between human rights, because they are going to file a suit, a human rights suit, and female rights or women's rights. I think that there is a difference. The difference being in terms of equity. What women need and require is not necessarily the same as what men require. Human rights tends to look at the situation from a holistic view of just men and women and trying to give them equality. But that's not necessarily the case. What women experience on a regular basis, the oppression that women face or experience is truly different from what men experience on a regular basis. In terms of women's rights, it has to do with sexual rights and freedoms. It has to do with reproductive rights and freedoms, as well as in the workplace, the freedom to express themselves and feel that their views are actually being taken into consideration. Human rights deals with a very generalized fashion of thinking about it, more as people on a whole as opposed to their individual needs, and that's what I feel is the major difference.
Go.
Hey, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What's the difference between human rights versus women's rights?
I'd say that human rights deals with more men-based issues, where women's rights deals with women primarily.
So like, what's the difference between those rights?
Women's rights deals with like wage issues, how women get discriminated, whereas human rights deal with men specifically, I would say.
Alright, thanks.
I don't think there's any differences between human rights and women's rights. Although there are, I don't think women's rights should be a category in itself. I think we are part of human rights, and the fact that people do separate it shows that they also don't treat women as equally as they should treat us.
But one is in reference to a species versus gender.
I'm sorry, is there such a thing as man rights? We have to
Well,
go to
back
men's
in the
studies?
1400s, yes. You're gonna go back far enough.
No. It's not fair. Like, why should we have to take classes that are called women's studies, like separate for us? Like, why is it so important for us to have women's rights and stuff? When we should just be considered part of human rights? Why don't we go to women's studies?
I agree that both should be together, but for a portion of time, women were basically minimalized. Or, wow, that's weird. Yeah. Yeah, they were marginalized rather. So I think that's why there is.
But then why do we have to have women rights right now? Like, why is that such a big issue when it should be already incorporated into human rights?
Well, because women are still disenfranchised,
But
largely in society.
I think it should just be part of human rights. I don't think you should classify it as women rights. I think it should just be like.
So, but then how would
human
you
rights.
address the issue if you're trying
Like,
to
everyone
get,
should be equally
like
treated. Done.
there should be a human
That's it.
rights class?
Yeah, there should be a human rights